The legend of Old Henry.
Long before the elegant hedges of old Westbury Gardens drew weekend picnickers and wedding parties, the estate had a caretaker named Henry Cole, known by the locals as Old Henry. He was a quiet, wiry man with a sunken face and a gait that dragged across the gravel like a broom. Henry loved the gardens with a devotion that bordered on madness. He trimmed the rose bushes until his fingers bled, whispered to the marble statues when he thought no one was watching, and most of all, guarded the closing hour like it was sacred law. The gardens officially closed at 6 o'clock sharp at first. Visitors thought Henry's stern warnings were just the crankiness of an old employee. 6 means 6, he would rasp, eyes glittering like broken glass. Most people left without incident, but every so often someone lingered, lovers stealing one more kiss beneath the lilacs, photographers chasing the last streak of sunset. That's when the legends say Henry would appear. Witnesses described a soft clinking of iron keys echoing through the hedges. Others swore they caught a whiff of coppery sweetness like raw meat left in the sun. If a visitor ignored the sound and stayed past twilight, they were never seen leaving the gates. The police chalked up the disappearances to poor record-keeping and wandering tourists, but locals whispered darker theories. The gatekeeper, a stooped man named Walter Briggs, claimed to know more than he dared to say. Some nights, after locking the main entrance, Walter would hear muffled screams carried on the evening breeze. He'd tighten his coat and walk faster, never daring to look back toward the greenhouse where Henry often worked late. The caretaker of the mansion, Mrs. Penfield, had her own secrets. When asked about the strange stains that sometimes appeared on the marble terrace, she only smiled tightly and said the deer must have gotten into the flower beds again. Yet neighbors noticed she kept her windows firmly shut at dusk, no matter how hot the summer night. And then there was lonely Paul, a groundskeeper with a crooked grin and a habit of wandering the gardens after hours. Paul was the only one who ever admitted to seeing Henry's other side. Over cheap whiskey at the village bar, Paul told newcomers that Henry didn't just chase trespassers, he feasted on them. Paul claimed he once followed a trail of crimson petals to the old potting shed and heard the wet sound of chewing inside. He never opened the door, but the smell of roasting meat haunted him for weeks. According to the legend, Henry believed the gardens were alive. He thought the roses fed on more than soil and sunlight, and he provided them with offerings of flesh to keep their colors so unnaturally vibrant. Visitors who overstayed their welcome became part of the ecosystem, their screams absorbed by the earth as fertilizer for the blooms. Henry himself disappeared one foggy evening in the 1920s. No body was ever found. Some say he finally joined his roses buried beneath the oldest hedge maze. Others insist that on quiet nights, if you stay past 6 and the gates creak shut behind you, you can still hear the crunch of gravel under slow, deliberate footsteps. The caretakers deny everything, of course. But if you visit Old Westbury Gardens, take note of the sign at the entrance. Close Act 6, no exceptions. Some rules aren't meant to be tested.